Welcome to the course Digital Storytelling. My name is Luka Piškorec. So I worked a little bit already on these photographs because I realized that sometimes some work requires a bit of time to do. So for example, when you're selecting objects in a photograph, it requires a bit of time. So I did some of these examples already a bit before so that I save time while I talk here, but I would kind of show you a little bit the workflow and show you maybe kind of layers and certain additions, the things that you can do. So this image here is based on a photograph that I can just try to open. Just for kind of rummaging through my folder, Simon Bossy. It's this photograph here. Actually, I can have this one here, and I'll just open a new one. Tutorials. Okay, I'll just paste it here. Okay, so this is the basic photograph. So Simon Bossy is a Swiss photographer, and this is a photo from him. So this is the kind of the landscape, and then basically in this Photoshop file, what I did, let me just try to remove some of these parts. Somehow my computer got a bit slower. Okay, so this is the original photograph. And then what I did here is basically just duplicate the house. So there's a house here. Just a minute. Yeah, okay. So there's a house kind of in front. Also, actually, where is this one? This one is in the back. So these two houses are the same. The one in the back is a bit scaled. The one in the back is a bit scaled, and but it's basically the same house. If you kind of zoom in, you will see that they look exactly the same. And because it's just scaled, that means also perspective is not perfect. So the vanishing point is not at the same place, but kind of it doesn't really matter that much. Or so in this case, this would probably be fine as a sort of illusion. Or so, and I want to show you a little bit kind of how you would go about duplicating that image. Or so basically you start with the background, this one here, and then you would go into a little bit of a tedious process of cutting out this building here. And I'm just going to do it sort of quickly. And I'll save this as an ARK-PSD file to just show you kind of this is a sort of version 2. So version on glass. Okay, so I want to kind of cut out this this building. So basically, yeah, there's not much to it. You select, there's a tool here. So there are different ways of selecting. I'll show you a few other ones as well, but I'm just gonna do this sort of very quickly, so not as nice as I did the other one. So yeah, in this case, you would just sort of go about, sort of select. So selection is it's a big topic in Photoshop because it turns out you're always selecting things, and you're kind of very often cutting things out from a photograph. And because of that, Photoshop has quite some cool selection tools, and I'll try to show some of them today to you, that are basically made to sort of speed up this process. But this would be sort of a very simple way of cutting out the building. So you just kind of go around, kind of selecting things, and I have to end here. Now, as you can imagine, this might take some time. So there is also a way to kind of streamline this process of selection. Here on the bottom left, there is something called quick mask mode, or when you click it, it basically, I think I showed you last time as well, it basically shows you what is selected, and the red things are basically, the red surface is not selected. Or so you can basically go in here and you can basically paint. Or so I can take my eraser here, and I can sort of, as I'm erasing this red color, I'm basically selecting things. Or so you can sort of use that additionally to basically you're basically using kind of painting in order to select the areas of the image. So in this way you can sort of find this, kind of do a bit of this nicer detailing. And if you look at tutorial videos online, you will see that, I mean, a lot of them are sped up because some things take a lot of time, and usually selection is one of those things that takes forever. And sometimes the objects are nicely isolated from the background, and you can select them really quickly with some Photoshop tools, which I'll show you a bit later. But sometimes this is kind of how you do it. And of course, some people are faster, some are slower. I'm not really an expert. So I always sometimes just do it exactly like I'm showing you now, just in a very simple way. Okay, so let's say you kind of found something, and you exit the quick mask mode, and now there are different things that you can do. So we selected here the background original. Here there's a kind of a layers are. So that's just the underlying photograph, and then I can just go, Control-C, Control-V to copy paste this part. So that's one thing that I can do. Control copy, Control paste. Okay, when I do that, if I dispreview here the background, I basically get just the cutout. Or so this is my cutout, and this is usually already enough to work with. But there are different things that you can do. So you can, for example, also work in a non-destructive way, meaning you can use, for example, masks. So let's try to do that. That's actually what I did in this example here. So let me just go backwards, paste. Okay, so there's this, we still have the selection, okay? And now we can add, we can maybe, I'm just thinking of it. Okay, yeah, we can copy this background original. Okay, so this whole photograph, the background, we can just copy it, edit, duplicate layer, and we can call it, we can just call it background copy. Okay, that's now the copy. So they're completely identical. You can just turn them off if you want. And this background copy, we will add a mask to it. Mask means that we will hide certain parts of this original image. So I go here, add layer mask, and basically because I already selected, I had the selection on, the mask was created or the mask already basically took on that shape. So this mask just means that I, in a way, get the cutout, but I get the cutout, but basically the original image is still there. I just don't see it. And just to show you what I mean, so again, it's a bit hard to see if I double click here. Nothing happens. Okay. I guess I can preview it as well. To be honest, I don't really know how. But basically, this mask is a black and white image. Or so if I start, for example, painting black on it, so I have to have it selected here. If I start painting black on it, it's like I'm deleting an image. Or if I do the opposite, so if I start painting white, the image reappears. Or so basically, on this mask, what is white here, that's what's shown. And what is black is not shown. Or so I'm not really cutting out the image. I'm just selecting or I'm choosing which pixels to show and which ones not. Okay, so this basically I already showed last time. And so I can kind of, again, if I cut it out wrong, I can sort of go later and improve a bit on things. Okay, now we can do something else. So I can use again this mask to bring back my selection. Or so if I say press Control, and click on this mask, the selection is back. Or so I can actually just copy, Control-C, so I can Control copy, Control paste, and now I get, wait, sorry, I have to, of course, I have to have an image selected, not the mask. Okay, so edit, copy, edit, paste. And now I get the same thing as before. So I just get this sort of a cutout. Now this is important because I need the cutout, or so this is my, house. Just realize that I'm just duplicating what I did before as well. There's a house, and I will duplicate this as well. So I need two houses for reasons that will become clear soon. Duplicate layer. There's a kind of, house in back. Okay, house in the back. And this house goes here. And now with the move tool, I can just move that house. I'm moving the wrong house. Okay, maybe this one house in the back. Okay. Okay, so you have to be careful with this move tool. Basically, you're selecting things. So as you click on them, you select them as well. Okay, so here you can see that I have this house in the back, which is my house cutout, which is kind of behind the other house cutout, which is in front. So basically enables me to move this cutout and make it kind of appear as if it's behind. Or yeah, let's do. So now I want to maybe scale it a little bit to make it more realistic. So I can go edit. There's transform, different types of transform, but I can just go Control T. Control T will just also do the same thing. So I just make it a bit smaller, press enter, and then I can kind of move it into some position where I want, maybe like here. And now I have kind of 2 copies. Okay, let's copy this house again. So house, duplicate layer, and I'll call it house, 3. So another copy of the house, it's here. Okay, I come up, and I can, for example, if I need, out of some reason, I need maybe, I need to reconstruct this surface here. There's a kind of a quick way to do it. So I can just work here. There are kind of different types of brushes. So there's a brush here, which I'll also show a bit later. There's a clone stamp tool. If I click it, I can kind of clone parts of the image, or so I can select like this. And maybe I can actually first, so I can kind of select sort of the surface where I want to act. It's maybe something like this. Okay, something like this goes up here. Okay, so I want to act here, and I use my clone stamp is here, and I have to press Alt. With Alt, I kind of select the area of the image, and then I can sort of paint. I can sort of, it's basically like copying, but I can kind of paint with that image somewhere else. Or so this is how it looks like, and of course, okay, got a bit to a bad start. So maybe like this. I have to make sure that I have the right. So yeah, okay, maybe I can do the. Yeah, so this is a bit kind of approximate. You can imagine that if I have maybe an irregular, looks actually quite good. So if I maybe have a bit of an irregular surface, this result will be much better. So another way of doing the same thing is I can just kind of I can select this area here. Here I go down the line, maybe like this. Okay, and I can just say Control C, Control V. I just kind of copy paste this part. Okay, so now I have kind of a part of this sort of a house that I can just, or facade that I can kind of move around if I want, and I can kind of use it to sort of patch up certain parts of the image. And maybe something we can do also here. So I can kind of go and sort of continue here, up. Actually, let's take the whole guy here, just a minute. So this is basically, again, painting the image by using another part of that image. Okay, and I use just the frame because then it my painting will not escape this frame, or so I kind of already have the edges defined. So I'm gonna go into the clone stamp, and I have to press Alt to kind of reposition, and then of course these are kind of the, how do you call them, the okay, so I can kind of sort of I'm just painting. And here with this tool you have to be a bit careful because it's very easy to overdo it, because of course you will get kind of repetitive you will get sort of repetitive patterns. This one goes back. So Alt again, you will start getting a repetitive patterns, so you should not just try. And it's always good to have, of course, a big surface that you're sampling from. Otherwise, you might make it you might make it kind of look sort of worse. Okay, and then now, of course, this part I can then use to insert somewhere, and maybe there's kind of a third one that goes somewhere here. And by changing the order of layers, I can kind of choose where they come in. Or so there's a maybe house 3. I will just call it house mid, which is kind of a mid house, or so house in the middle. Yeah, maybe somewhere here, but I will actually not really add it, but yeah, but in theory, you can kind of course, add it somewhere in between. Okay, so you can kind of use parts of the image, start reconstructing them, and start moving them around. Of course, I could also take some of these trees and just use them and put them kind of here in front if I want. Okay, so I'll just conclude this example. It's just to kind of quickly to show you how you can sort of multiply things. And of course, you can have your own design and just kind of use it. So you would just kind of put it in. Let me show you another one. So that's this image here. Another one, version 2. Let me see. This one here is, it's this. I think it's the same building, but it has different windows. So it just kind of shows sort of anfas. And I'll show you the original image. So here, the original image is this one here. I'll just copy paste it here. Yeah, actually, I can put it in Photoshop. So you can kind of see it a bit then better. So again, you can just drag and drop things in Photoshop, and you can notice that I'll just switch between these two. You see a little bit kind of what sort of happened. This is the original image, and this is the image kind of after some modifications. I'll actually try to do that modification now. So we sort of moved this. We moved this window a bit to the right, and we actually we just took the same window and just put it kind of on the top. Or so we can kind of play a little bit with that. So I'll just show you that. So I will just save this image. You can, this background here is locked. You can immediately kind of break it by pressing this lock here, because just a layer. Then you can call it, you know, original. And I'm just going to save this, save as. Again, I like naming things. So it's going to be number 2, Simon Bossy, and version 2. Okay, so you have to save it as a, again, PSD, so Photoshop file. And also all the layers will then be saved. And you probably noticed already these Photoshop files are quite large. So they tend to, they can easily get like 100 megabytes and so on if you have a lot of layers. So they tend to be kind of quite big. Okay, let's see how we can select this one here. So again, because this is a square, it seems like very easy to just do this. Just do this, but we can try, and then you can just kind of do Control-C, Control-V, and just kind of move it. Or so this, I can kind of get my window here. There's another way to do this. Is like a concrete window. There's another way of doing the same thing. You can select original. There's a tool called Object Selection Tool. So I think that one might work quite well if I go like this. When I have an object that has sharp edges, then it works quite well. Okay, so you can see here, there's some, not everything was selected properly. So you can go back into here, selection, and say, so quick mask, and you can say, okay, here I need to maybe 8. Okay, here I want to kind of maybe add a little bit this corner, and here also I want to kind of something like this. Okay, so maybe yeah, maybe we don't want this kind of smudge on the bottom. So we'll just kind of you can fill it up with a fill bucket. There's a fill bucket here. You can just kind of or take a brush, I guess it also works. Okay. Okay, when you go out and then again kind of copy paste, and you can just kind of move it somewhere. Okay, and I want to just show you, so this one you can kind of leave here. I want to show you how you can kind of try to patch up this this wall. I mean, this is now becomes a little bit obvious how you can try to patch it up. So we will this window concrete window 2. Okay, concrete window 2. That one is up. Okay, so here on the one on the bottom, we will just remove, or we will just hide it. We go back to original, and now I can try to kind of patch up this window if I just want a wall here. Now, again, Photoshop offers quite some intelligent tools to do this. So I will actually just Google quickly for you. There's something called content aware fill. So it's called content aware fill. And there's then, I guess, many different ways that you can do it. So basically, you can kind of remove objects from the image, but the Photoshop can kind of take care a little bit of the background, and yeah, it uses kind of some cool tools. But sometimes, of course, the results are a little bit, let's say, artificial. So, or sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse. It's called content aware fill. So you're basically kind of removing things, but with Photoshop is sort of aware what is around the object, so it tries to kind of patch up things. I'll show you a little bit how it works. Then sometimes some manual adjustments are also needed. So I'm back here. I think I can select area, something like this. I think I can go to original, and then there's this thing called patch. I think this will work. It's called, how is it called? Patch tool. Okay, and then I have to see which way it goes. You can basically, let me just see if I take this. No, it's the opposite. Okay, so I select my window, and then I take the patch, and then I can say, well, I want this area where the window is, I want it to look like this. And then you kind of adjust it so it looks as best as possible. So you can see here the concrete, these lines are sort of adjusted. And when you release it, the Photoshop will try to, it will try to kind of patch it as best as it can. So you can see kind of, yeah, again, with sometimes it works better, like on these rocks, this would work perfect. Or, but of course here where you have very, very clear lines, somehow here, well, it's almost there. Or so it's kind of, if you look from the far, you couldn't really see the difference. And yeah, so that's one way. A bit more manual way to do it is manual, or so you would kind of say, okay, I want to patch up this window. There's some chat questions. Can you repeat the step, please? Yes. Okay, so again, I have a window here that I want to get rid of. So this is just flat on the photograph. I guess it makes sense if I take it a bit larger like this. I select kind of approximately around the area that I want to make disappear. Maybe something like this. Okay, I first selected using this selection mark tool. Then here there's a tool called patch tool. And you have to maybe select it from one of these, there are different things here. So you will select patch, and then you just click and drag. And then of course, if I want to go maybe horizontal, I can just hold shift. So maybe something like this. I see there's a bit of a rock coming in there, but something of this type. Ah, okay. So you basically kind of say this patch should look like this, and then it kind of fills up pretty nicely. And yeah, I will show you now how you can do the same thing a bit in a manual way. So back in the day, this is how we did it, and sometimes you can do it that as well. So I can just take a patch of this wall here, and I can try to take as big patch as I can. Maybe this one, maybe something like this, without the rocks. Okay, so I have still my original photo selected. Maybe something like this. And I say Control-C, so, copy, paste. Okay, and now I have my concrete patch. You cannot see it, but I can move it around. If I press Control, I can just move it around. Okay, so this is my patch of concrete, and I can just move it. I'll move it across here. And sometimes, if you want to adjust things nicely, you can go here under opacity. You can kind of reduce the opacity so you can see kind of what's underneath. But here, it's not really necessary. So I want to close this hole, but I want to leave a little bit of space in between. So I want these lines to kind of sort of fit, and they kind of almost fit. So if I need to adjust something, I can go, Control T, and with holding Shift, I can sort of adjust a little bit this seam if I want. But it seems like the top and the bottom are not perfectly aligned, but it's fine. Okay, and now you can see that there's this you will get very often in your photos when you are doing this sort of patching. You will get kind of you will see the seam, you will see the kind of edge, and it's because you have very slight difference in color. And now we can change, or we can sort of blend that out. Or I can use an eraser. There's an eraser tool here, and this one is a bit too small. So right click, you can kind of increase the size a little bit here, and hardness might go to 0%. So you want to have a soft hardness, changes the sort of the softness of the edge. Or so here you want to have a very soft edge of this eraser. And now by having this kind of concrete patch selected, I can just kind of delete. I can sort of erase, but very slightly, this edge. And again, if I want it even softer, I can make my size kind of a bit bigger, but I have to just make sure that when I'm deleting that I don't see anything that is underneath. Now I actually already don't even see. Okay, you have to be careful here because you don't want the the window to be seen. So basically, I'm just deleting a bit the edge and sort of softening that edge. Again, there's a little bit different ways to do this softening, but this is for sure one of them. So, and if I delete the bottom photograph, you can see that now the edge is a little bit softened, so it kind of tends to disappear, and this makes just the whole thing kind of blend a little bit better in. And yeah, if I look from the far, it's almost hard to see where the original window was. So this is the window. It looks like this. Okay, so when they talk about okay, you can notice the mistake that I did. This concrete here, the concrete, how do you call this, space holder. So in the concrete formwork, you have elements that keep the formwork at a certain distance. So the concrete has a certain thickness, and these ones, they're here. You kind of patch them up, so they're also, you put usually concrete inside, but you usually don't really cover them completely, especially if you're in Switzerland. But you can see here that I didn't align it properly, so maybe I can even try to just slightly move it up. But again, I have to make sure that, yeah, then everything. Okay, so you can kind of, yeah, oops. Okay, so that's kind of one mistake that I could have maybe looked after. Okay, and that's it. That's how you can start collaging. So you can use the images themselves, original kind of parts of the image, in order to modify the image. That's a bit the idea. And this one, concrete window, goes here. Okay, so we went from a original photograph that looked like this. We kind of we moved this. Okay, so we moved this window on the right, and we added it sort of over the top. Of course, this doesn't really make sense because there is a certain this window is kind of missing, or not missing, but these floors look exactly the same, so that's not really realistic. But this is how you can kind of go about sort of building up your things. Okay, so that's the second example that I wanted to show. Okay, there's also Simon Bossy collage number 3. So let's open that one. And here I will also try to find the original image. So that's the image, and I'll show a little bit what I started doing there. The original image is here. I'll just show you, this is a little bit a still example from last time, kind of texturing. Okay, go spaced here. So yeah, this is more or less now the original image, but I started already cutting it out. So I'll just show you a little bit what I was doing. Somehow my Photoshop is very slow when I'm on Zoom. Okay, I started cutting it out. Or so if there's an original photograph here, and there's kind of a back wall here. So what I did, I just started cutting out this back wall. Yeah, that's it. So I didn't even use a mask. I just kind of cut it out. So sometimes you can use a mask, but it just depends on kind of what you prefer. And we can maybe try to sort of finish this one here. So I'll just save this again as version 2. So what I want to do, I want to kind of just adapt this interior image a little bit. This back wall, I want to change the material. Or so I basically want to cut it out, but then also there are objects that are in front of it, like this lamp and the chair. So I want to cut them separately so that when I kind of collage, the some material in the back, that basically the material will just kind of fit nicely. And then again, this is fine. I want to cut out again the chair separately and the lamp separately. Or so I actually didn't test this today, but let's see. So let's say I want to cut out this chair. So I can go here and say, let's see if this object selection tool works. So again, if you go online, you will find tons of tutorials for these Photoshop tools, like how to cut out things. And then, of course, they use very clean examples, so they work really well. Here, let's see how we do it. Okay, so I use this. Let me see if this works. Okay, it kind of works. If I go here under mask, you can see that it kind of did it, but there are some things to correct. So if I go here, there's something called Magic Wand tool. So with the Magic Wand tool, I can do somehow it doesn't work. Okay, let me actually do it again. Let me see if I can use maybe this Magic Wand instead of object selection. So what Magic Wand does, it kind of selects a patch of the same color. Or unfortunately, here the wall and the floor are kind of very similar in color. But I can kind of, if I hold Shift, I can kind of start adding things. Or so I can go like this a little bit and start adding things, and maybe my chair will kind of fall out. And again, different techniques, maybe how you can do this. So as you can see, what I'm doing now, I'm kind of trying to select sort of everything except the chair, or I'm trying to kind of leave the chair out of it. Going to the mask, this is how it looks like. Yeah, not really that successful, to be honest. There's a lot of kind of structure here, so I'm just holding Shift and kind of adding these things to selection. Okay, wall is kind of easy. Here, this part here. What else can we add? Yeah, this blend is kind of very soft. Okay. Okay, and now maybe we can kind of switch. So I can select the inverse selection, or so if I actually let's do it here. So I'm just going to use just a eraser here, maybe hardness here, this size a bit smaller. Okay, so I'm just hardness goes up, this one goes down. Okay, so I just want to kind of quickly sort of select this chair with approximately. Yeah, sure, maybe pre-selected it before, but just want to show you kind of how to do it. And again, for different things, you might kind of want to use different tools, and here experience kind of helps a lot. So some of you might be by the time you kind of finish doing this, you might again know a little bit even more than me, because I always tend to use the same tools. It's hard to change. If something works, I rather spend a little bit more time in doing things than learning kind of a completely new tool and then correcting after it. Okay, but maybe something like this. Let's select here a little bit. And okay. Okay, and now I want to just remove everything else. So I do actually have to go a little bit kind of around this chair. So you can kind of select also while you're in the mask mode. So that's kind of the cool thing. It's kind of a selection within a selection, because here you're just sort of painting. Okay. Become clear what I'm doing just when I quickly finish it. Okay, so I select this part, and I go to select inverse. So I can select everything else, And now I can just delete it. So I can press delete. And now my chair is more or less isolated with certain maybe small glitches here. So these dots, but they don't really worry me that much. So they will kind of, these patches that I forgot, they will sort of become part of a chair as well. But it just means that, actually in my case, they might not even do anything. Okay, so this is a very crappy selected chair, but maybe it's good enough for us. But this is not really I didn't select the chair, or so I selected everything else but the chair. So I again go under select, inverse. And if I go into mask mode, you will see now I have what I need. Or so now I have, now I just have selected the chair. Okay, so if I go back, I can kind of just go Control C, Control V, and the chair is in front. Again, sometimes, yeah, sometimes it can also look good even if the edges are not that good, because you know you don't need to be. Sometimes this precision sort of kind of blends out. And yeah, here's my chair separately, and this is the back wall. And okay, so this I can just call chair. And the last thing I just want to do quickly, I want to do the same thing quickly for the lamp. But lamp is kind of easy, or easier maybe. I just realized that my lamp is transparent, so it might not work that well. So let's just, let's actually maybe try to use this quick selection tool. Let's see if that one works. No, here. Okay, yeah, be sure to have, of course, you have to have this quick selection tool. Yeah, then you have to kind of, quick selection tool, yeah, you need to sort of adjust the size a bit. Okay, so in theory, you could maybe do it, but it's it looks sort of, again, a bit harder than maybe should be, but with the magic wand, it might actually work. You can change the tolerance, or if I put tolerance to 20, now this just means that, so this tolerance just means basically the tone, or the tone difference, or so my selection will kind of flow until it reaches a pixel whose tone value is larger than the number that I put here. Or so from white to black, we have 256 values. So this is like 1/10 of a kind of a full shade. So, you know, maybe something like that. And yeah, it's kind of looks like I can sort of maybe select the lamp. Yeah, this bottom part is, I have to see how I do it. So again, I'm just holding shift and just kind of clicking around to select these sort of darker pixels a little bit. And some of the lighter ones are now coming in, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and maybe this is going to be enough for me. Here as well. Okay. My crappy selection. Like here, of course, I can do it maybe it's just a straight line. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's see how it looks like here. It's again a bit hard to see, but one other way, hardness, you can go to 100%. This is maybe 8, and one nice, or right click, maybe this is 6. One nice way of, you can also just hold shift as you go down, maybe 4 pixels width. Okay. So if you want to do a straight line down, you can kind of delete and hold shift. And as you hold the shift, your mouse will be locked in an orthogonal direction, which will enable a little bit to kind of do sort of a bit nicer, just kind of vertical swipes. Or so I just hold shift as I go down, and just helps me to keep the vertical, just to get this line kind of a bit nicer. Okay, and yeah, I wanted to just do this one here. Somebody asked me last time how to make the pixels appear. When you zoom in, the pixels appear. That's it. So the more you zoom in, they kind of appear. So if I zoom in a lot, they kind of just appear here. Okay. We'll take a break soon, but just want to kind of quickly finish this one. This is okay. So now I sort of selected my lamp, and yeah, from my experience, if you are ever going to do this professionally, a lot of your life is going to be just selection. Okay. Yeah, something like this. Okay, and now I'll just kind of Control C, Control V. The lamp is in front. Yeah, we have sort of a lamp, and we have the chair here. Cut out separately. I can just call it lamp. Okay, and what else? There was a okay, and then I will add the background, and let's maybe choose first a nice background to add, and I'll show you a nice trick how you can do this relatively quickly. But let's choose first. Let's choose first the materials. So maybe again materials, textures. So you have them somewhere. I didn't really choose, but maybe again this is all already kind of concrete. But I like concrete, so let's go back to concrete, and let's choose something. So we want to maybe add a little bit of texture to that. So we can choose. We can just put it like straight on, or we can just sort of decide to add just kind of some texture to the wall, or so maybe something like yeah, maybe something like yeah. Let's actually work with this one here. So it's concrete B. Maybe let's add this texture to the wall, concrete B, and I'll just put it here. Okay, and just to show you quickly the wrong way to do it before we take a break. So I can just kind of, copy paste it. So with Control A, you can just select everything. You just say Control A, copy, go here, and then you just say paste. Okay. So now if I change the order here, this is kind of maybe in front of a, yeah, maybe the back wall goes all the way down. This one goes, okay. So you can kind of see, I can sort of put things, behind the back wall. Here, I can actually call this concrete. Okay, so I can kind of choose where this thing ends up. So it's literally just a collage, but I'll show you how you can sort of make it fit into the wall nicely. Yeah, that's kind of a trick that you can use. Back wall maybe goes back down. Okay, now it's sort of behind the chair. There's a kind of a chair. You can sort of add something between the chair, lamp, and the wall. Okay, I just realized actually that this concrete that I just put in here, it's great, but I might want to kind of duplicate it, so I want to kind of tile it. Now I can do this in more ways. So I just want to have a larger surface. I can do this also here, but it is yeah, I guess I can do it here. So either, yeah, you can do it kind of either here on the original image, or here it works. You press Control Alt, and then you kind of copy it, and then you just sort of make it touch, and then you do Control Shift to select these two, and then again Control Alt to sort of copy them up. And I come here. Okay, so now I have 4 of these, and maybe this surface is thin enough. I have a lot of these concretes. I put this one up, and I select 4 of these and right-click merge layers. Merge layers just means merge the layers that I selected. So now I have this huge concrete piece. I just realized that maybe depending on the size, I might even want it to be bigger. So maybe I want it to run kind of through the whole image. So I can again just Control Shift. Control Alt, pull it down. Okay, and I have to just be careful how I'm kind of adjusting it. Okay, something like this. Okay, perfect. So I have these two. Select them, and then I just say again merge layers. Okay, so now basically everything is concrete, but it doesn't matter, just the whole image. It's a very big concrete piece, and I can just hide it. So again, there are different ways that I can put this concrete onto this back wall. So I cut out already the back wall. Or I have the chair, I have the back wall cut out. So I will use the back wall to cut out the foreground, or so that's the back wall, and I can cut out everything else in the image. I can use this as a stencil. So again, if I hold Control and click on this back wall here layer, click it, I will basically what happens is I think I used it already once. Then the Photoshop kind of selects the boundary of all the pixels that are in that back wall. Okay, and then I can go select inverse. So now I select everything else that is not that back wall, and then I select the original image. So the original image that has the foreground, and then I go again, edit, copy, edit, paste. Okay, when I do that, now I have sort of separately foreground and background. I have separately back wall and the kind of foreground. I can actually just write it here, foreground, yeah. Foreground, okay. And then, yeah, okay. And in theory, foreground should be in front of, so it should be on the top, yeah, if I'm correct. The foreground should be in front of everything, if I'm correct. No, it's okay, it's just going to be in front of there's foreground and there's back wall here. Okay, so now I kind of have them separately, and now I can put my concrete in between. Where does it go? It goes in between, it goes in front. Let me just see actually, where does it go? Okay, yeah, it goes at the back wall. I guess I don't really need the back wall then, or so back wall I just used as I can maybe use it to get the light and these kind of shadows, but it's in the background. The concrete is now in front, or so the concrete is between the foreground and back wall, and on top of everything I have also the chair and the lamp. And yeah, this concrete I can just move it around, or so kind of see it. And yeah, maybe this is a bit, of course, I can choose the scale. This is actually the scale is maybe a bit off. So with Control T, I can just kind of, I can just make it a bit smaller because I know already that, yeah, that's a bit over. Okay, something like this. And maybe Shift, I can kind of squeeze it a bit. Okay, something like this. Press Enter. Okay, so now that's my, in a way I created now this back wall, but this is not really realistic because now the shadows are missing. Or so so that's the last thing that I'll show in this image is that I have just the concrete and it looks very flat because the shadows, the very subtle shadows that I have here, they're kind of missing. Or so now I can do different things. So I can do this blending in different ways. I can actually maybe just zoom in a little bit. Maybe like this. Okay. So there are different things that I can do. I can, that's a little bit rough. I can just use this concrete here layer, and I can reduce the opacity, or so I can just kind of make it transparent basically, but that's not really what we want. Or so it's kind of it almost looks like yeah, it doesn't really look good. It looks almost like some kind of a faint painting or wallpaper or something. So that's maybe not that good, but I can do blending. Or so I can, here on the left, you have a blending mode, and I can basically choose how does now this concrete that is on the top, how does it sort of add the pixels to the image on the bottom. So if I just now can choose different types here, and with my arrow keys, I can just cycle through them. Or so, for example, this one is color burn. This one is multiply. Color burn looks kind of okay, but it's also a bit weird. Linear burn, darker color, lighten. Okay, some of them completely disappear. So maybe this one is a bit of a actually, yeah, screen. But I will get a different result. This is called overlay. I will get a different result if I switch the order, or so if I have back wall on the top of concrete, so we can check that later. Just a minute. Let's just cycle through multiple of these. Okay, this is one option maybe. Okay, so there are different ways that I can add these two together. This one looks kind of cool. And I want to choose the right one. Okay, the standard one. Okay, none of them really look good, but that's probably because I need to do it the other way around. Okay, so I go here to normal. I put the back wall on top. Okay, so now I don't see concrete. And now if I use the back wall, if I kind of reduce its opacity, I kind of get sort of similar result as at the beginning, but I can now probably blend it better. And let's see which one gives me, okay, it's this one here, multiply. So what multiply does, I think it kind of, let me actually see a color burn. So basically this, I need to have the back wall on top, and then the white, I don't care about the white, but basically where this white back wall is darker, that's where I wanted to contribute the color. Or so only the darker pixels are in a way darkening the concrete image, and the white pixels don't do anything. Or and that's the trick. So maybe linear burn is fine. Which one else? Soft light is not so good. Okay, so I think I found mine. So which one? There's darken, there's some multiply works, and the color burn maybe works depending a bit on okay, linear burn. Okay, so these burns actually work. And if you remember, the burn is the same tool I think that I have here. Yeah, there's a dodge and burn, and the burn is kind of darkening, I think. So it kind of does basically color dodge. Well, this one here, linear burn. Okay, different types of burns. Maybe I can leave this one here, linear burn. Okay, so now so this is the back wall without a shadow. Sorry, the concrete kind of without the shadow. But if I add the sort of shadow from the back wall, I get sort of a bit of a I get a bit of spatiality there. So that's actually quite cool. Yeah, that's it. Of course, now because I didn't cut this, I didn't cut the chair so nicely, so that's how it looks. Let's actually try to do this chair. This one is on the right. I can multiply this chair here. I can go here and say duplicate layer. Okay, there's a chair right. There's a chair left. Okay, great. And I want to flip it. So there's edit, transform, flip horizontal. And I just go something like this. Okay, so maybe something like this. And then again, additionally, I want to, let's see what I'm doing here. Reduce the vista opacity. And then I can kind of mask it as well, but I can also just delete here. So I work in a destructive way. Okay. So put the opacity back. Okay, so something like this. And of course now, maybe I want to here on the original photograph. There's actually, which one is it? The foreground is here. Okay, on this foreground, I want to just maybe burn a little bit on the bottom to create a shadow. Where is it here? Burn, maybe something like this. Hardness very soft. Okay. Okay, so on the bottom, I can just do something similar like to this chair here. But yeah, I'm not sure if I can. It seems like maybe shadows, I can kind of burn them a bit more. Yeah, a bit artificial, but so it is. Okay, midtones maybe a bit more. I can, of course, also change the exposure here. So I can put a bit lower exposure, a little bit smaller brush, and I kind of imitate sort of this. Yeah, okay, something. I have two chairs and I have this thing in front. And yeah, maybe we can actually conclude with this example. So not to go on, I can of course start adding stuff inside. But this is basically how, if you're very careful with how you blend things, you can make, so, this doesn't really need to be rendered in V-Ray or anywhere if I already have a very good underlying photo. Okay. If I have a good underlying photo and I just want to do adjustments on it, I can do actually very realistic adjustments just by kind of collaging and being careful with what overlays where.